Leave a like on this video for nothing. I mean, hey man, I'm being honest at least. What's up guys? Welcome back to a brand new story. And just for 1 second, hear me out. Imagine enjoying your class, paying attention, being with your friends, learning, right? Such a great environment. Well, it was a great environment until a psycho furry out of nowhere decides to try and attack you by sitting on you and crushing you, and you just kind of sit there. And at that very moment, you just question your life. You're just like, why? What? So that's actually the story we have today. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, maybe grab something to eat, get comfortable, and let's just jump right into the story. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the story Benji. So anyways, there was a furry guy in their class. And first thing I want to say is like there are definitely some furries who watch me because there have been some in the comments on my other videos. I really don't care what you do. Like, honestly, like I support you if that's what you want to do. And I genuinely have nothing against you if that's your hobby. If you like dressing up like animals, dude, like, do I get it? No. Do I do it? No. But like, I don't care. Like, genuinely. However, if you just, this following sentence is very funny. If you decide that you want to go sitting on people to try and crush them, to beat them or something, that's not okay. That's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the damn line, dude. Anyways, though, yeah, so there's a furry guy, and we're going to name him Ben, and he had this furry girlfriend, and at their school, they were allowed to come in full fursuits. I think the teachers and the staff were just like, kids these days, like, we don't understand it. As long as they're not harming other people, we don't really care. So you would see people walking around in class or in the school, maybe with like a tail on, maybe with those like gamer cat ear things. So, but a few of them go in full fursuit, which in all fairness was a little distracting in the beginning, but here's the thing. Believe it or not, if someone comes to your class in a fursuit the first time, you will be distracted, but probably by the 100th time, it just becomes normal to you. So Ben, the furry, right, had a furry girlfriend, the only other person in the school that wore like full fursuits or whatever, and also happened to be a girl. So they were, of course, they were in a relationship. And one day, this story all starts one day when Benji was in the class with both Benji and Ben. That's a little bit too close. Remember, Ben is the name of the furry. Benji is the name of the subscriber. I really hope I don't mix those up because that'd be very confusing. But anyways, one day, this all started one day in class. And in this very class, Benji, Ben, and Ben's furry girlfriend were all in the same class. And this all started one day when this was a class of a lot of people, right? There was a lot of people in this class. So Benji got in late this day, so he had to sit in the back of the classroom. Because Ben, the furry, and also his furry girlfriend would always kind of sit in the back of the classroom so that they could, like, make out in their fursuits or I don't even know, dude. But, yeah, they would do you know what, Benji, he was always sitting in the kind of, like, the middle of the classroom because that's kind of where his friends were. He wasn't in the far back where the unknown regions where Ben was doing whatever unspeakable things with his furry girlfriend back there. But he also wasn't in the front of the class because Benji wasn't that type of kid to really sweat class that hard, so he wasn't like grinding super hard. But yeah, today he got in late, so every seat in the middle of the class was full. So he was forced to go to the way back, and he had to sit right next to Ben, the furry, and his girlfriend. Remember, he had no issue with Ben being a furry. He didn't care. You can do what you like. You can dress up as an old Russian woman for all I care about, bro. Like, I seriously do not care. However, PDA is where I draw the line. I said this earlier in one of my other videos. The freshmen at my college, they need to be stopped. We need Rice Gum from 2016 to come back and make a video telling them that they need to be stopped. The PDA is ridiculous. Anyways, so Benji's sitting there, and he sits down. I don't think Benji really knew how much nonsense went on down there. So, like, Ben, the furry, would turn to while they're sitting in class, Benji's just trying to pay attention, and he hears, "What's good, baby? Wanna pet my tail?" He's like, "What the fuck? Dude, what?" He turns around, and he sees Ben, the furry, right, just, like, petting his furry girlfriend. Like, Benji's just like, dude. Benji's like, okay, I'm just going to focus on what I'm doing. And that's when Ben, the furry, turns to his furry girlfriend. Is like, "Let me spit in your mouth, baby. And he goes in and he, like, with his fursuit head thing on, he, like, kisses his furry girlfriend in the mouth. Dude, I don't know how this works. I'm reading this Instagram DM where Benji sent me the story. I don't totally get it. I'm just telling the story. And at this point, Benji turns around. He's expecting, right? Benji's expecting to see some kind of nonsense, but when he turns around and sees this, he's just like, hell nah. He's like, what? He kind of like says, yeah. I think like exactly what he says. He's like, yo, but he like says it much louder than he thought. So Benji kind of just had a guttural reaction to this, which, dude, I don't blame the kid. Like, he sees these two guys, like the two fursuits making out and fondling each other and like whispering sexy things into each other's ears. Bro, I might let out a yelp as well. So like, I don't know, Benji's like, bro. I think he's like, yo, or bro, but he says it much louder than he thought, which brought the attention of the teacher. So the teacher, who is kind of focusing on the front of the room and also the whiteboard, turns around and looks to the back of the room where he just sees these two furry kids going at it in the back. And the teacher is like, hey, you two. And he points to the two furry kids in the back like, what are you doing in my class right now? That is so disrespectful. Get up to the front. And the two of them walk up in their fursuits, right? And he's like yelling at both of them like, don't do any of that. If I see you two doing anything like that again, you're going to the front office. Now go back there. So yeah, the teacher low-key kind of publicly humiliated them instead of just telling them to knock it off. I think the teacher was having a tough day anyways. But Benji felt a little bad because he didn't think Ben was a bad dude. He didn't really have any interactions with him. But, you know, Ben the furry and his furry girlfriend walked all the way back, and Ben sat down next to him. And after about 30 seconds, Benji went back to paying attention, but that's when he felt a tap on his shoulder. So he turns his head to see that Ben the furry is looking at him in his furry suit. It's kind of like, it's low-key kind of like distracting, or it's kind of like unnerving, I should say, because you just have this like dude in a furry suit just looking at you, right? He's just staring you down. He's staring into the depths of your soul. And Benji kind of looks at him. He's like, and Ben's like, you're gonna pay for what you did, buddy. and Benji's like, what? And Ben's like, yeah, you ratted us out. You know what happens to snitches, buddy. And remember, he's hearing this through, like, the muffle fursuit head, right? So it's very weird. Benji's like, dude, it was an accident. I was just really startled to see what I saw. And, you know, Ben's like, that's too bad, because snitches get stitches. And, like, Benji really didn't even know, like, where he was going with this. So Benji's like, sorry, man. Like, I swear it wasn't like that. And the furry dude's like, well, either way, man, you're going to pay for what you did. And he turns back around. And Benji's like, all right, a little note to self. Ben is not cool. This guy is freaking weird. The furry guy, yeah, turns out he was not as okay as I thought he was. Good to know. This is something that I will remember later. But the thing is, Benji doesn't really think that anything's going to happen. So he walks out of class. And he's kind of thinking, okay, well, if the furry guy is going to come after me, he's going to come after me right out of class. Right? But no, the Ben the furry actually walks the other way with his furry girlfriend, and Benji thinks that that's it, that they're done, and that there's going to be no altercation, no issues, no problems, no nothing, right? So Benji's actually kind of excited at this point, and that's when Benji goes to lunch. And Benji goes to lunch after another class. So the one where he has the like Ben the furry in it, there's a class after that, and then after the second class, he goes to lunch. So a little bit of time has passed since the whole ordeal happens when Benji sits down at his lunch table, and the friend of Benji's lunch table is like, dude, did you hear? And Benji's like, dude, what? He's like, it's about you. And Benji's like, what? Like, I didn't do anything. Because, like, Benji genuinely had not had, there was no reason, Benji thought, that he would be, like, in the news of, like, people talking around, right? He's like, I'm not dating anyone. I'm not shooting my shot with anyone. I didn't get in a fight with anyone. I didn't get caught cheating or anything like that. Like, why would people be talking about me like that? It makes no sense. And his friend's like, dude, like, you know that, like, Ben, the furry guy? And Benji's just like, oh my God, what? He's been telling people that he's going to dominate you and show that, like, you can't be disrespecting him by, like, sitting on you. And Benji's like, bro, what? Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Ben down below. Secret word of the day will be Ben. I'll try to heart a bunch of comments to say that. I don't know how busy I will be tomorrow when this video goes up. So don't feel bad if you don't get a heart, but I will try and heart as many as I possibly can. Also, the best way to support the channel is just to sit down and binge watch a bunch of old videos. I think I have a playlist linked in the top comment. So after you're done watching this video, you can just click the link and you can go to that playlist. It has all of my videos. Hey, if you do watch that playlist or you binge watch my old videos or whatever, please let me know in the comments so that I can say thank you, because I try and get to as many comments as I can. I just want to say thank you for you guys supporting the channel recently. You guys binge watching the videos helps out even more than you can imagine. Anyways, let's get back to the story. So a little recap, right? Benji's sitting at the table when he learns the news that Ben, the furry, wants to show that he can't be disrespected. And the way that Ben the furry is going to show that Benji won't get away with disrespecting him is by crushing him into dominance. What the hell, dude? What the hell? Yeah, so he's gonna like crush him by sitting on him, because I don't know, dude. I don't know. Don't go in the comments. Do not go in the comments and ask me why, because you know what? You're not getting an answer from me, dude. Because I don't know either. I'm just the storyteller. Don't shoot the messenger, baby. Okay, please. All right. Anyways. So Benji's pretty confused at this point. I mean, understandably, I'd be pretty confused as well. And he's just like, hey, yo, bro, what? And he turns to his friend. His friend's like, dude, like, I don't have any, like, I don't know anything that you don't know. I can't explain it. And Benji's just so weirded out. So the next day, he's like, okay, I gotta be early for class. I gotta be early for class. He has 10 minutes in between his classes, right? But he just feels, he feels it in his stomach. He's like, no, dude. Benji's got to go to the bathroom. He's got to go, and unfortunately, he doesn't have to go number 1. That's pretty quick and simple. He has to go number 2, and he has no idea how long it's going to take him. So he does his business, and there's like 30 seconds to get to class before class starts. And class is all the way at the other side of the school. So Benji already knows that he's going to be like 1 minute late. So Benji books it there, and sure enough, the only seat that's available is in the back near the furry guy, near Ben. However, there are a few seats in the back, so Benji does not sit directly next to him. But when Benji sits down, Ben the furry gets up and then moves right to the seat next to him. And Benji's like, dude, no, come on. Oh my, bro, you gotta be, bro, please. Yeah, so anyways, right, Benji or Ben the furry whispers to him, like, you shouldn't have disrespected me yesterday. When the time is right, you're gonna pay for it. And Benji's like, dude, I heard people were saying you wanted to sit on me to show dominance. And Ben the furry gives out one of those like, ha ha ha. He gives out like one of those like very fake, but like one of those anime villain laughs or whatever. It was like very cringe, right? It's very awkward and forced and staged. He's like, ha ha ha, you know what I'm gonna do to you now. And Benji's just like, bro, could you please not do that? Totally fair reaction. I think if I heard that someone or a furry man was gonna come and try and assert his dominance on me by sitting on my face, I would say, dude, please, like, I'll give you $5 if you don't. Like, bro, seriously. I would really love it if you didn't do that. Like, I think it would be super epic and awesome if you did not sit on me. Dude, please. Yeah, so anyways, Benji said that, and Ben was like, basically, no. And Ben informs him, when you think, like, when you least expect it, it shall come, which basically meant his furry butt on his face. This is the most stupidest story I've ever received, but I'm sorry. I have to tell it. I have to keep the people entertained, even if it drives me insane a little bit. So leave a like for my sanity. Anyways, yeah, so Benji's a little just like, oh my God. So he like very carefully makes sure that he's never in a position where, like, you know, he could be easily sat on, which, what does that even mean? I don't know. Weeks go by. I'm not even kidding you. Weeks go by every single day, no matter where no matter where Benji sits, somehow Ben the furry sits at least near him. Maybe not directly next to him, but at least near him. And I swear to God, 2 weeks later, when Benji has completely forgotten about this whole ordeal, or at least it's in the back of his mind. Look, if someone comes up to you and threatens to sit on you to assert dominance, I don't think that's ever going to be something that you'll just like forget or something like that. I think that that'll be something that will stick with you for all the wrong reasons for the rest of your life. However, it wasn't something that was a top priority for Benji. It wasn't in the top of his head or like the front of his mind or whatever. So one fateful day, 2 weeks later, Benji drops him his pencil. So of course, as anyone would do, Benji reaches down to grab his pencil. And that's when he feels a whoosh of air. That whoosh of air came from the furry kid, Ben, jumping super quickly out of his chair, leaps on top of Benji, and that's when Benji feels this big thud on his back as he collapses to the floor. And that's when he can hear, like, everyone looking. Dude, he can hear everybody looking at him. He can't see everyone looking at him because he's on the floor. He can freaking hear it. And he hears the teacher say, "Ben, what on earth?" And yeah, so at this point, Benji, like, is able to kind of, like, brush him off or whatever, and Ben flops over, and Ben is screaming, "Yes, yes, my dominance has been asserted. Get sat on, you pleb." That's a quote, by the way. "Yes, yes, my dominance was asserted. Get sat on, you pleb." That was a quote that I received. No, that was not. Look, I do a lot of ad-libbing in these stories because I got to fill in the details because I'm not given 10,000 pages of information. I have to fill in the details where it makes sense, and I ad-lib all the time, right? That was not an ad-lib. That was a quotation. Yeah, I'm just going to let that sink in. Anyways, yeah, the teacher's like freaking out or whatever. Benji's obviously not the happiest camper right now. And at this point, the only person who's super happy is Ben, the furry dude, because he's just like, "Yes, my dominance was asserted. I sat on him." And I think for some reason he thought that everyone else was going to like immediately bow down and be like, "Oh, you're our master now because you sat on Benji." What the fuck? Dude, what? Yeah, but anyways, instead of becoming king of the plebs in Ben's mind, that's what was going to happen. He instead became king of the kids being sent to the office for sitting on other kids and distracting class. Yeah, so the teacher came over, basically said like, "Ben, like, you go to the front office right now. I'm going to call up and say what you did. Like, I'm going to try and explain it. Like, just go to the front office. You're in trouble. Get out of here." And then he reaches over to Benji and he's like, "Did you have any part of this?" And Benji's like, "Not willingly," basically saying like, because I guess the teacher was just seeing if this was some kind of practical joke that they were both pulling or something. And the teacher's like, "All right, then. So this obviously, like, I didn't think that you wanted that or whatever just happened. I don't even know, man. But I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a joke or something." And Benji's like, "No, like, that kid, like, was mad at me because, like, when, like, do you remember a couple weeks ago when you called, like, him and his girlfriend out for, like, making out in the back of the class? He thinks that I told you to do that or something." And the teacher's like, "Dude, what?" And Ben's like, I don't know. Or Benji's like, "I don't know, man. So he's been mad at me, telling everyone that he's going to sit on me to assert his dominance or something crazy. And, yeah, looks like I forgot, and I leaned down to get my pencil, and, I mean, I guess the rest history, man. The rest is history." And the teacher's like, "All right, well, that kid's like, Ben's eventually going to have to come back to the classroom. I'll make sure that you guys are sitting in separate corners of the room so that this doesn't happen again. And also just like, if this is happening, just let me know." So yeah, "I'm sorry, bro." Basically, the teacher's like, "I'm sorry, man, that this had to happen to you." So anyways, this all started when one day Sammy was innocently walking down the school hallway. He didn't really think anything of it. I mean, bro was just walking to his hallway in school. Like, it doesn't matter, man. But at the end of the day, Sammy made a huge mistake, apparently. Because Sammy was walking, he wasn't really paying attention, and he bumped into this kid. And this kid, after he bumped into him, turns around. And Sammy was kind of expecting, like, by the aggression on this kid's face and by the way he whipped around, that this kid was going to be like, "Watch where you're going, bro." Or is going to be like, "You want to fight, bro?" Or I don't know, something like that. But instead, the kid growls at him. Like, freaking growls like an animal. And all of a sudden, like, Sammy's just so taken aback. He's like, "What? Bro?" And the kid is like growling at him and staring at him and then turns around and runs away. He doesn't walk away. Emphasis on running away. So Sammy is so confused, but honestly doesn't think much of it because he's like, "Okay, yeah, sure. It's one weird kid who turned around and growled at me when I bumped into him. Who cares? It's really not a big deal." But sure enough, right, Sammy keeps going, and he goes to class, and life is totally normal. Things are totally normal. And honestly, Sammy doesn't even think about, what just happened earlier in the day. He just thinks about, like, the class. He's just going day to day. But that's when, after school, he returns to his locker. And he opens up his locker to grab his backpack when he sees a crumpled up ball, like a crumpled up piece of paper, stuffed in there. It was, like, obviously folded up but crumpled and pushed through the vents of the locker. So sure enough, Sammy, like, looks at it and thinks, like, okay, I don't remember putting this here. Perhaps it fell out of my backpack. Let me open it up to see what it is, just to make sure that I'm not going to throw out or lose something important, like, I don't know, notes from class or something like that. And he opens it up, and in really crude handwriting, in, like, black Sharpie, it says, "You have disrespected the Wolf Brotherhood. You shall now pay." And Sammy was like, huh? Like, is this some kind of joke? Is this some kind of mistake? And for some reason, once he read that, and once he read Wolf Brotherhood, that immediately made a connection in his brain to the time when, like 3 hours ago, when he bumped into some kid and growled at him. And immediately Sammy's like, all right, there's no way that kid growling at me has any connection to this weird letter. This weird letter is probably just, like, I don't know, unrelated or something like that. But Sammy was really just weirded out by this letter, and he just keeps looking at it. It says, "You have disrespected the Wolf Brotherhood?" The Wolf Brotherhood. He's like, what? I'm so confused. Like, what is this? Remember, so Sammy's in 7th grade for context. This isn't like, I don't know, they're adults or something in college, and it's actual a serious thing. Obviously, the Wolf Brotherhood is something corny, but he's like, what on earth could this be? So the next day is Friday, and literally nothing happens that day, except at lunch, one of the kids Sammy asks, like, the people at the table, and is like, I know this is going to be strange, but I got to ask, does anyone know what the Wolf Brotherhood is? And his friend laughs and looks at him and is like, bro, what are you talking about? And everyone kind of just says no, except one kid at the end of the table speaks up and says, hey, I don't know much, but I know a little bit. And Sammy's like, what? He's like, yeah, I think I've heard it thrown around once or twice before. It's not like an official student organization, but it's like some kind of like unofficial club that some kids made or something. I don't really know. And Sammy's like, well, and then he reaches into his backpack and pulls out the now neatly folded letter, and he unfolds it, and he shows it all crumpled, and it says, "You have disrespected the Wolf Brotherhood, and you shall now suffer the consequences." Sammy like shows this around. He's like, I received this in my locker yesterday. And everyone around the table is kind of like, sorry, bro, like, that's really weird. Don't get me wrong. We agree that that's kind of sus, but like, we know nothing about it. So the next day is Saturday, and it's not school. So Sammy's pretty excited that, it's the weekend. So he decides that he's going to go to the park. And the plan is for him and his friend to go over to the park around 2. And, Sammy, is walks from his house and walks over to the park. And the park has like a swing set, a bunch of trees, it has a slide, it has like a place for bike racks. It's a really big park, and it's a pretty cool place to hang out. And Sammy looks down at his phone, and he sees a text from his friend saying, hey man, I'm so sorry, I can't make it. And Sammy's like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. And that's when Sammy is about to leave when he sees someone sitting on the swing set at the farthest part of the park. So it's a pretty big park, but he can look all the way down there, and he sees someone in a black hoodie. But here is where things get weird. He notices that something is wrong with this person. Something is not usual. What was that thing, you might be asking? Well, Sammy looked closely, and he's looking at it, and he's like, that can't be. Like, that can't be. What did Sammy see exactly? He saw a blue tail, like one of those like things you get on Amazon that like kids might put on like their backs, and they walk around with like a fake tail or something, dressing up as a fox or wolf or some kind of animal. And at this point, right, the person gets off the swing and turns around. And Sammy can't see like what their face really looks like because they have like sunglasses on and they have a black hoodie pulled down. But the person is very clearly walking towards Sammy. Not running towards Sammy, but walking towards Sammy. So Sammy's like, okay, this is very strange. And Sammy turns around and starts walking back to his house. And this is when Sammy starts to feel uncomfortable again, because he looks to his left, right? Because now he's walking on the road back to his house. And you know how there's like one side of the sidewalk and then the other side of the sidewalk, and then there's a road in between. On the other side of the sidewalk, there's another person in a gray hoodie this time. And Sammy's like, okay, just a coincidence. And that's when Sammy takes like a quick glance at the person over on the other side, and he sees this weird pink thing dangling between their legs. Stop being weird in the comments, you guys. Don't say it. Don't say it. It was a tail. Anyways, there's a big like furry tail type thing. And at this point, Sammy's like, hell nah, bro. I'm not doing this. This is way too weird. And Sammy starts to power walk. But the thing is, as Sammy starts to walk faster, these guys pick up the pace as well. Sammy's not about to run because he doesn't want to get like exhausted or something and then, have to, get caught by these guys because he has no idea what's going on. These also don't look like adult men. They look like kids about his age. And I mean, they have fur tails on, so they're probably not going to be like, I don't know, CEO of Apple and Microsoft secretly have furry tails on or something. But sure enough, right, Sammy's looking. And he sees, like, these kids. And now at this point, just so you know, the guy in the black hoodie is behind Sammy, pretty significantly far behind, but still behind him, but on his side of the sidewalk. And sure enough, right, Sammy's just like, oh, my God, like what, who, why? Like, who is this? What could this be? And that's when Sammy remembers. That's when Sammy remembers the letter he got and couldn't figure out. He said, yeah, what was it? What was it? Wolf Brotherhood. And he looks over and he's like, I'm pretty sure wolves have tails? Maybe? He's like, you know what? This is way too much of a coincidence. These guys are obviously after me. And then Sammy's like, you know what? I don't actually know if these guys are after me. I'm going to like make a sharp turn and then hide. So this was kind of a risky move by Sammy, but he decided that he was going to do it anyways. So Sammy quickly makes a left-hand turn around the corner. So for a brief, 30 seconds, both the gray hoodie and the black hoodie wouldn't be able to see him. Instead of continuing to walk, Sammy jumps into someone's yard, jumps into one of their bushes, and hides. But as Sammy's looking out, the gray hoodie and the black hoodie. The gray hoodie crosses the street, and the gray hoodie and the black hoodie both turn the same corner that Sammy was turning. They stop walking, they start looking around, and then they start talking with each other. And Sammy's close enough to hear little fragments of what they're saying. They're saying, blah, 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 Sammy, blah, 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 can't find him, blah, 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 Wolf Brotherhood. So at this point, right, Sammy knows the two things. That one, these kids were following him, and they were after him. And second of all, that they have some relation, if they are not, the Wolf Brotherhood themselves, right? So Sammy is just like, this is so freaking weird, I don't know what to do. And he waits there, and he's just waiting there until, the guys, eventually they get up and they leave because they can't find Sammy anymore. So Sammy eventually gets out and just walks home as quickly as possible, completely freaked out at this point. Completely freaked out. So he walks on home, he gets back home, and he calls up his friend. His friend's like, yo, dude, sorry I couldn't make it out of the park. And Sammy's like, probably a good thing. You're not going to believe what I just witnessed. So Sammy tells the story to this kid. And yeah, sure enough, this, Sammy's friend's like, oh my God, dude, that's insane. That's not normal. And Sammy's like, bro, I know, I don't know what to do about this. And Sammy's friend's like, man, I don't know what to tell you, advice-wise. But just be careful, man. Just be careful is all I'm trying to say. And he's like, you know what, man? I'm going to start asking around for my friends and see if any of them happen to know anything about, I don't know, this fox or wolf cult thing you were telling me about. I don't totally, I don't think it's something, but, I don't know. I'll ask around. So sure enough, Sammy's friend's now in the case, and he's going to ask around. And Sammy's like, you know what? I'm just going to get my mind off of this. Tomorrow, I'm going to go to the mall and just hang out there. And Sammy felt a little bit safer at the mall than, at a random park with no one there, just because, other people were there. So the next day, Sammy walks over to the mall, and he's very paranoid walking over. And he's, looking over his shoulder. He's kind of looking around, but he plans to meet up with someone at the mall. So Sammy walks over about 5 minutes, and he gets to the mall. He sees his friend out there. They link up, and they start walking around. They walk to different stores or whatever, and they do what you do in the mall. And after a while, Sammy's friend's like, all right, man, I got to go. My mom's here. She's coming to pick me up. And Sammy's like, okay, well, I think I'm going to stay here a little bit longer. So Sammy's friend leaves, gets picked up by his mom, and Sammy walks into a clothing store. In this clothing store, it's really big, it's really wide, and there's a lot of, shelves. There's a lot of, racks and racks and racks of clothing, and it goes really far back. So Sammy is just, sifting through the clothes. He's kind of just looking around, and he's going through, and that's when, you know, all of a sudden, he sees someone. He sees someone next to him who's kind of just standing there, not necessarily doing anything, but someone who's looking at their clothes, looking through clothes or whatever. And that's when he looks. And he looks at this person. And something just feels off, right? They're not like approaching him, but they're standing like in the corner of the store looking through clothes. And, you know, he's just like, I gotta look. So sure enough, Sammy takes a peek, and yes, they have a red tail dangling between their legs. Sammy is so freaked out, he immediately turns and power walks out of the store. And he looks behind him, and the person, now in a blue hoodie with the red tail, has turned around and is starting to walk towards him. Sammy is completely freaking out. This is much bigger than he ever expected, and things are only about to get worse from here. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment furry down below. Yeah, that'll be the secret word of the day. And if you want to continue supporting the channel or just support the channel in general, just keep watching videos after this one, or at some point, just watch a bunch of videos in a row. Basically, the more videos on my channel that you watch, it gives me more minutes watched. Like, the more minutes you watch, the more it helps me out. And I'm actually genuinely curious what you guys are doing while watching these videos. And a lot of people recently have been telling me that, you know, it helps them go to sleep. And if that's the case, let me just direct you to the playlist section on my channel. It'll help you guys watch videos like in a bunch in a row. And just so you know, if you want to submit stories of your own, go to my Instagram. It's in the description. It's Connor Pugs, and there you can submit stories. Make sure you're following me. And also, all these videos, every single video I post will be up on Spotify within 2 to 3 hours after it's posted on here. So if you want to listen to these things on Spotify, if you're like working out or you're doing something where you can't have a YouTube video playing, I highly suggest you go to my Spotify linked in the description. Make sure you're subscribed, leave a like, and let's just get back into the story as it's about to get crazy. So Sammy is power walking out of the store, and he's walking as quickly as he can to the mall exit. And that's when, like, you know, he passes by a store and he catches a glimpse of someone standing, and sure enough, they have a blue thing dangling. And sure enough, it is a blue tail. So as Sammy passes by someone, he immediately sees like someone walk out of a store and starts following him too. And that happens with another and another and another. Now there are 5 whole people that have come out, and they're stalking Sammy at this point. 5 people are walking after Sammy with, you know, these blue or red or whatever tails, you know, in between their legs, and they're walking faster and faster, and they're gaining ground, and it's not looking good for Sammy. Sammy starts dodging around, and he goes into a store, which kind of sounds like a death trap. You're like, why would you go into one exit? But the thing is, he knew that the store was big and complicated, but also there was an exit that didn't turn on the fire alarm. Because a lot of times, like, you know, if you go into one of these stores and you go out their exit or whatever, it's going to have a fire alarm. But Sammy knew in the way back there's an exit where the fire alarm is disabled, and you could leave it without setting anything off. So Sammy walks into a store, and 30 seconds later, the 5 furry people walk in as well, trying to chase him down. And so sure enough, right after a little while of doing this, you know, Sammy's going through, he's looking around, he finds the exit, he bursts out of it. At this point, he can't keep on, like he knows that he has a little window of probably about a minute before they figure out that he left through this exit, or maybe they don't, but maybe they do, right? So Sammy's like, all right, I know what I gotta do. Anyways, right, so at this point, Sammy is gaining some ground or whatever. He's actually getting some distance, and he just starts running. And, you know, he runs all the way back home, and he gets to his house. His mama's gone for the day or something, so he gets in there, locks the door, runs up to it, makes sure it, goes around to make sure that everything on the first floor is locked, runs all the way up to his room, and just, looks out the window. And it's like, okay, there's no way that those kids saw, I outran them. They're probably still in the mall. They probably have no idea where I am. Yada, yada. I'm totally fine. Things are okay. And in the middle of thinking that, he sees 5 individuals in hoodies and furry tails walking down his street, and he's just thinking to himself, like, oh my God, there is no way, there is absolutely no way that this is true. There's no shot like that this is actually happening. This is not real life. And he's looking, and these 4 furry guys are like walking, and in unison, they all turn and they're staring at his window. He immediately ducks down and kind of then, like, after a couple seconds, peeks back up, and he just sees like these 5 furry guys staring at his house. And he's like, oh my God, like, this is actually intense. This is one of the most insane thing ever. After about 2 to 3 minutes of them just staring there, they all turn in unison again and walk away. So once again, Sammy gets out his phone, calls up his friend, and is like, dude, I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't think I can deal with this. This is way too insane. And his friend's like, dude, this is so crazy. I was talking to people all last night, telling them your story, trying to figure it out. And only one person said that they heard it was like a weird kid club or something, but they didn't know much about it other than that. So the next day comes around, and it's now Monday, and Sammy goes into class. And Sammy's like, you know what? That's fine. I'm safe in school. Like, things are totally okay. Like, as long as I'm surrounded by people, these weirdos can't come after me in public. So Sammy goes to his locker, and he sees another crumpled up piece of paper, right? And he's like, oh my God, there's no way. And he goes in, and he opens up the piece of paper, and it says, like, you know, this is only the beginning. Signed for Wolf Brotherhood. And he's like, no, this is only the beginning. Oh my God, these guys are crazy. These guys are insane, man. And right, sure enough, you know, he's just like, okay. Folds up the letter, puts it in his backpack. He's trying to collect some evidence just in case. And, you know, he goes to his first period class. He is totally tweaking out. He's feeling super weird. He is just stressed out beyond belief. And oh my God, this is where it gets weird. And he's watching, and he sees someone, you know, he sees one of these kids walk into class that he's not really friends with and normally sits in the back. And the kid is wearing a hoodie, right? And this kid is now, the first time ever, coming into class with a red furry foxtail. And Sammy freezes up because he's like, oh my God, that's one of the kids that was stalking me. Like, this is one of the kids that was stalking me. Like, this is crazy. And the kid sits, like, literally takes the seat right behind Sammy. And Sammy is so uncomfortable right now. He is so weirded out. He's like, oh my God, like, this is so scary, like, this is so crazy. And the teacher starts teaching class. And that's when he feels the furry kid behind him, like, scoot up a little closer. And then he feels the furry kid. He just, like, feels the vibrations of the kid getting out of his seat and going onto all fours. And he's like, what? Bro, what are you doing? And he turns around, and the furry kid grabs his hand and puts his entire hand into his mouth and bites down. At this point, like, Sammy's like, oh my God. And the teacher, like, kind of yells it out. The teacher looks over, and he sees this kid on all fours chewing on Sammy's hand. Thankfully, he didn't break any skin, because Lord knows this kid has, like, 3,000 diseases in his mouth or whatever, and his saliva would basically be as toxic as a king cobra. But sure enough, right, the teacher's like, Xavier, stop that right now. Let's just call the kid Xavier. And the teacher goes over and basically pulls Xavier off of Sammy. And he's like, what's going on? And Sammy's like, I don't know. This kid just bit me. And, you know, she's like, Sammy, go to the school nurse. And Xavier, like, go to the principal's office. I will be sending up a note to make sure that you make it there and to tell him what you did. And sure enough, right, you know, Sammy goes over to the nurse's office. And they look at his hand and they're like, wow, what happened here? Did, like what's going on? And Sammy had to explain that a crazy furry in class tried to devour him. And the nurse was like, you know what? I'm not going to ask any more clarifying questions. I'm good with just that, you know, like, no offense, but we're going to keep it at that. So the nurse is making sure he doesn't have any wounds, kind of just, like, sanitizes the area anywhere. It's like, do you want any bandages? He's like, no, that's fine. And so anyways, when Sammy's done, he doesn't go back to class. He goes to a room. He goes to, like, some kind of printer, grabs a piece of printer paper, goes in his backpack, takes out a pen, and writes down a note saying, Dear, like, Wolf Brotherhood, I propose a truce. If, like, meet me at the basketball park or net, or the basketball court after school, 5 minutes after school. He takes his letter and he puts it on his locker. And he folds it up a little bit, but he puts it on his locker because he assumes that they're going to go by again. And sure enough, By the time, the bell rings and Sammy goes to his locker, he sees the note is gone. And inside his locker, there's a piece of paper, and he opens it up, and it reads, "We will be there at that time. See you then, Wolf Brotherhood," right? So he's like, all right, finally, I'm going to meet these guys. So anyways, right, Sammy is a little nervous, and he walks out to the basketball court, and he sees 5 people in hoodies and tails standing there. And he's like, oh my God, this is actually low-key kind of scary, bro. I'm low-key kind of scared. And sure enough, right, he's like kind of like freaking out. He's kind of sweating a little bit, and he walks over, and he hears, "Hello there, Sammy. Welcome to the Wolf Brotherhood." Immediately by the sound of this guy's voice, he was no longer scared. And they all take off their hoodies. And, like, some of them have fox ears on. Other of them have, like, super long emo black hair. Like, they're definitely not, like, it's not like Mike Tyson at his prime in the ring. Like, you're okay. Like, I'm definitely not too scared by their appearances. Don't judge a book by its cover, but in this case, yes, do it. So sure enough, the kids are like, "It seems that the Wolf Brotherhood has scared you quite well enough, Sammy." And Sammy's like, "Yeah, you guys are weird, it's really weird. Like, one of your kids, like, tried to bite me." They're like, "Yes, that was a Wolf Brotherhood performing a wolf bite attack." Sammy's like, "Yeah, it was really weird. You guys are strange." And they're like, "So, you want a truce because you lost to the Wolf Brotherhood?" And Sammy in his head is like, okay, these are a bunch of geeks, but, like, they also have literally no life. So if I say no, then they're going to keep stalking me and being weird. And Sammy's like, "Yeah, I'd like a truce. Like, I don't know why you guys were after me in the first place." And one kid steps up, he's like, "I see you don't remember our battle a couple of weeks ago." And Sammy's like, "Dude, what are you saying?" He's like, "You don't remember our battle in the hallway?" Sammy's like, "Oh, wait, yeah, you were the kid who I bumped into accidentally, and you were, like, hissing or growling at me." He's like, "Yeah, we needed revenge for that." He's like, "Oh, well, it was an accident, man. I'm sorry." And they're like, "There are no accidents." Trying to be all, like, I don't know, ancient wisdom type deal or something, but they just kind of sounded like cringe. And sure enough, right, Sammy's like, "All right, well, I'm sorry. Can there be a truce?" And they're like, "Council, unite!" And the 5 of them kind of, like, huddle in a circle. Sammy's like, "Dude, I swear to God, if they come out with some BS or something, they're like, actually, we need $500 from you, and then we'll let you go." Like, trying to do some actual extortion type stuff. But they, eventually, they go back to standing in a row of 5, and they're like, "You should be grateful that the Council of the Wolf Brotherhood is so generous. We have granted you immunity in our land." And Sammy's like, "Wait, your land?" And they say, "Yes, the school, the park, the playground, and the local mall are Wolf Brotherhood territory. You were enemy number 1 for a while, but now you are on the safe travelers list. Have a good day, Sammy." The next day, Sammy's sitting at lunch with his friends, and his friends are dying to know what was happening, because his friend told everybody about what happened. Sammy's like, "Dude, do I have a story for you?"